Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Mithra Manda, I, Gandhali Sevak, would like to welcome you all. I'm sure all of you are familiar with what Mithra Manda is and have attended many programs of Mithra Manda on face-to-face basis or in the live show like this also. I will start with introducing Mithra Manda briefly. So Mitra Manda is not new organization. It has been in Bangalore, especially in Indiranagar area, around for last almost 40 years. It was founded in 1981 by handful families like Mr. and Mrs. Rajankar, Mr. and Mrs. Kothari, and Mr. and Mrs. Dravid. Most of them were staying in Indiranagar, and main Maharashtra Manda in Gandhinagar was quite far away. And that was one of the purposes of starting this small organization. Very soon, this organization became quite big. And I'm extremely happy to share that the founder members who were there 40 years ago uh, are still active in Mitra Manda. Last few years, Mitra Mandala has been conducting many programs. Some of them are social, some of them are cultural, some are traditional festivals to introduce the new generation with our culture. Mitra Mandala is also associated with many social organizations such as Infosys Foundation, NAM Foundation, Adamya Chetna. Quite a few times we have conducted blood donation camps, etc. You all must be aware of it. For last 1 year, it was quite a question now how to go ahead with our programs. So we have come up with this platform of conducting an online program. Many competitions, the whole Ganesha festival was conducted online using the platform like this due to COVID-19 pandemic. But I would like to show you other side of this program, this platform also, that earlier our programs used to be only available for certain people only in the uh, Indiranagar area or around. Now, these programs are viewed by many people in the or all around the world from Maharashtra and from many other places. Last 6 7 months, every month we are doing one program like this, and today we have invited none other than our favorite, and you have known him for very long time, uh, Commissioner of Police of Bangalore, Mr. Praveen Sood. Uh, Many things about him will be part of this interview, but I'll give a little bit of introduction and I'll also tell him why we decided to introduce or interview Mr. Sood today. Uh, he is IIT Delhi graduate. He is from IIM Bangalore. He has served Superintendent of Police in Bellary, Raichur before joining Bangalore Police, and he has served as police advisor for government of Mauritius. Many people are so happy with themselves after achieving such good post, becoming IPS officer, but he was not satisfied at that level. In 2003, he took a sabbatical pursuing post graduation in public policy and management from IIM Bangalore and Maximil University of Governance, New York. These many things are anyway part of his website. Those will come as a part of interview also. But there are a couple of things. One is police. Is something when we in Marathi or especially in Pune, we informally police are always called as Mamaji or Mama. I don't know that happens in Bangalore. I have not heard it, but maybe it is happening. Especially, I remember my college days. It is used in good terms also, but when you are driving without a helmet, somebody used to informally tell, "आगे के कॉर्नर में मामा जी खड़े हैं." So, and that was always used to be considered as a member of family. So it's been close to our heart. And another part is Mr. Sood. So I know him for more than a decade now, and uh, we used to stay in a same apartment complex. I do remember a very first incident when our apartment association was formed in second or third year. um, I was appointed as a treasurer. When I was taking over, somebody asked me, what do you do if somebody doesn't pay the association fee. I said, we give them notice. What if they don't pay? After 3 4 rounds, somewhere it came that then we have to launch a complaint in police. They said, okay. Then police commissioner stays in your complex. What if he doesn't pay? Whom will you tell? I was zapped, and I said, okay, if that time comes, we'll see. Well, Mr. Sood is with Mr. Sood. That time so never came, but he himself used to follow each and every rule so precisely that we never had a chance to complain about any of them. So later on, we were good friends, and he has been very witty. In addition to a police commissioner and a wonderful human being. So, more than a police commissioner, you will see many other sides of Mr. Sood also. So, I would like to welcome Praveen Sood, and our dear friend Sarang Gadge is going to interview him. Sarang?
Yeah, thank you, Gandhali. Uh, I welcome Mr. Praveen Sood, and I would like to give a small update on what Gandhali said. Sir, correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, you currently hold the post of IG and DG of the Karnataka State Police, right? Uh,
That's right.
that's
That's
something.
right.
That is something which I just wanted to update on what Gandhali said. So, thank you, sir. Welcome again, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to you in this forum. So, let's begin with the let's begin with a few questions, and then as we mentioned, all the audience are requested to post their questions in the comment section, and we will take we'll try to take all the questions, but if time permitting, otherwise we will go with address of the questions asked by the audience at the second half of the program or at the end of the program. So once again, welcome, and let's start with a few questions. So, sir, let's begin with a question from the beginning of your career. Like as Gandhali mentioned, you are an engineering graduate from IIT Delhi, and then how did you choose to become an IPS officer? And how did you end up in Karnataka actually?
Oh, very good afternoon. Thank you, Sarang, and thank you, Gandhali, for um, very nice introduction. I don't know whether I deserve all those words, but yes, two corrections to what Gandhali said. One, that yes, I was Commissioner of Police about 4 years back, and now I am heading the chief of the whole state. So that is first, what Sarang has also mentioned. Second, Gandhali, I am still a resident of your apartment. I am temporarily out because I am forced to stay in official accommodation, but my heart is there, and I'll be back as soon as I am away from this post. So, with those, having said that, with those two corrections, thank you, Sarang. So, I'll tell you, if you ask me why I landed in IPS, I would just answer in one word, that is destiny. Destiny brought me to IPS, but for those who think that it's very unusual, I must correct, it is not unusual. In a state like Karnataka, there are at least um, 50, if you add IAS and IPS officer, there would be at least 25 to 30 officers in Karnataka, and in the whole country, there would be about 5 to 600 IAS, IPS officer, even more, maybe a couple of thousand who are from various IITs. And if you think beyond IITs, because IIT is not only the Makkah and Medina of knowledge center or anything. I would say if today the new batches come in IAS and IPS, I find at least 60% are engineers, another 20 to 30% are MBBS, and other 10% are from humanities and all other fields. So it's not something unheard of. You may find it unusual, but it has been a trend. It started in 80s, early 80s, when IITians and professionals started coming to the civil services. Till 79, there were hardly any professionals in civil services, but in 80s they started coming. In 90s, the trend went down because the private sector grew up very well, and then After 2000, in this decade, there has been steady rise of professionals coming to civil service, IAS or IPS or even foreign service. So that's a good trend. How I came is just destiny. And one thing I would say that there is no regret. I have never regretted having come to IPS, because I think there are no better service than IAS or IPS, because if you want to, and if you are determined, and if you don't stray from your path, probably these are the best services to make change in somebody's life. And by touching people's life, ordinary people's life, knowingly and also unknowingly, we might be making big change to the people's life. So no regrets on that.
Definitely, sir. Yeah. Uh, as Gandhali mentioned, actually, you were in the role of a police advisor to the government of Mauritius. I think it was for a few years. So, can you please explain what is that role actually, and how was your experience in Mauritius? I hear it's a beautiful country, a small island near South Africa.
That's right.
How was your experience, sir?
Well, that was a very unique chance which I got. Not many in IPS get. I got an opportunity to be invited by government of Mauritius, and through government of India, I worked for them for 3 years as advisor to the government of Mauritius. But I'll tell you one thing: it's a small country with about 1.2 million people, 80 kilometer by 60 kilometer, very picturesque country, very beautiful country, a tourist heaven. Um, I went there as advisor to advise them on many scientific issues and all. But when I went there and when I came back after 3 years, I was a different person. I learned much more than I could give to them, because even though it's a small country with 70% people of Indian origin, and not very progressive country in the world map, but then their systems are were much better. I was advising them on scientific matters, technology, induction of technology, etc. um, you might have heard and seen in Bangalore. Now we have launched 112, the single number, single point of contact for anyone in distress. Like we used to have dial 100 earlier, now it is 112 all over India whenever anyone in distress. So that kind of thing we did in Mauritius about 20 years back. I'm talking of 2000, 2001. So, and then setting up DNA laboratories, setting up forensic science laboratories, and all that was my mandate. But in return, I got the chance to learn a lot of things from that country. And I would say, when I came back after 3 years, now I went as their advisor. I thought that I had learned a lot of things. And uh, remaining period, I try to implement many of those things wherever I work, whether when I was in Mysore commissioner or Bangalore commissioner, or even now we are introducing many of the things which I learned there. Because in Mauritius I could get chance to get exposure to a lot of European and US policing, because they had more of European influence. So that was a good opportunity, a wonderful opportunity.
Good to hear that experience, sir. And I believe you are the pioneer of introducing technology in the police system right here in Karnataka, and a lot of various activities or various new schemes have been introduced under your guidance. So technology is really helping us. But I do want to know whether this poses a different kind of a challenge, uh, especially where we have such a wide spectrum of population, which is not that technical savvy. I mean, they're not that tech savvy to go and install an app or lodge a complaint on an app, kind of thing. So, how do you see that? I mean, did you see that as a challenge, or how did you address that?
Well, I personally am a great supporter of technology, and I feel there is no solution other than introducing more and more technology in this country, because otherwise, the numbers which we deal with will simply defeat anything we try to do. So, right from the time I came back from Mauritius, and after that, I took a sabbatical in IIM. I have been strong supporter of technology. I will give you a few examples. The first thing which I did in 2002 was changing the whole recruitment pattern in police. It's a very there is a stereotype thinking. Everyone thinks that in police you just pay money and you get recruited and all kind of things. If somebody goes delves very deep into it, how we have been doing it 2002 onwards, you will see that you cannot have a more transparent and a honest system in Karnataka than what in India than what we have in Karnataka. It's so that was one time when we removed entire discretion of any person. It's a purely objective type question where person after sitting in an exam even takes the answer sheet, carbon copy of answer sheet with him, and he can evaluate next day only where he stands, and then final cutoff will be announced. So and there are no interviews, there are no subjective marks for constables, for sub inspectors, etc., in this police force. So that was the first thing which we introduced, totally technologically based. Then second, when I moved into traffic, that is when many people must have seen me working all these cameras and all these traffic lights and the blackberries, enforcement through technology, enforcement making it more and more transparent. Of course you cannot remove the human element. There has to be a human man, human behind that technology, and if human chooses to be corrupt, then technology cannot save. But a lot of technology avoided a lot of wrong things which used to happen. And now when I became commissioner of police, we brought dial 100. Again, we gave a slogan that every call from the citizen in distress will be picked up in 15 seconds, and every scene of distress will be visited in within 15 minutes. So that was when we introduced dial 100 in Bangalore, what we call as num 100, means my 100. And I tell you one thing, if any of you is in distress, if you have not tried it, I challenge you and I advise you, don't ring up any inspector, sub inspector, police station, DCP, commissioner, DG. Don't ring up anyone. Just ring up 112. And the chances are that you will never regret it. If you have not experienced it, try it. And if we are wrong, if I am wrong, do give feedback, and do they in fact take the feedback also. So that is what I introduced in 2017 when I was commissioner of police, and when I became DGP, I extended the whole thing to entire Karnataka. In fact, that is what Mr. Amit Shah launched up about few months back in Karnataka when we rolled this. Now it is called 112, not 100. Rolled it into entire state, just replicating the same experience for rural people also. That every call will be picked up in 15 seconds, because we have a huge call center where 100 people, 100 lines are there, and every call is received, and there are vehicles location at stationed at various points who will attend those things. So like that, there are many things, and lot of things happen during pandemic. I'll come to that later on, because lot of technology infusion which we were not able to do for decades happened during pandemic. So I always say, even the destructive situations like the pandemic has been can come up with very constructive solutions. So I'll tell you later on how many positive things have happened during this pandemic, because the technology infusion which we were struggling with for years, because we also thought people won't accept it, people are not tech savvy. Sarang, it is totally a misnomer, or I would say misunderstanding, that people are not tech savvy. I'll tell you, even rural people are so tech savvy today. If you make it simple, they can use majority of the applications. Like 2 lakh people apply for our constable recruitment, and 99% of them are from rural areas. Everything is online, everyone applies, no one has ever complained about it. So there are so many things which we have introduced technology, and people have accepted technology in a great way. Technology is the only solution which brings removes discretion, brings transparency, brings objectivity, and creates confidence among governors. So people are willing to accept technology if our apps and our solutions are simple, and the user friendliness is the key word.
Sir, I am so glad to hear this, that people are uh, are tech savvy. I mean, they're not. That's a misnomer. especially coming from the computer engineering background, it really is satisfying to know that people are using the technology which we engineers are producing. Thank you, sir. So, moving to the along the same lines, like as you mentioned, this technology, introducing the technology in the system has helped in this pandemic situation, and also probably it has accelerated the introduction of new projects. So with this pandemic situation for like almost 15 months now, we are going through a lot of unexpected and unprecedented situations in each and everyone's life. Uh, as a frontline workers, along with the healthcare professionals, the whole police team is also going through tough times. And how is this being addressed, and how is technology helping over here to go over this, to overcome this pandemic situation uh, at the ground level, sir?
Yeah, so Sarang, when the pandemic started, I remember roughly around 15th of March last year, when the first restrictions on flights were imposed, when we started checking people at the airports with the thermometers about their temperature and all. So what, when pandemic started, police was put into kind of duties which we had never done in our lifetime. I mean, we never expected we would be doing all these things. First, police was deployed at the airports to assist the medical authorities, checking samples, temperatures of people. Then people were supposed to home quarantine, so our people were going along with medical people to the houses, stamping them on their arms that he is quarantined. Then controlling whether they are coming out, they are roaming. A lot of people were roaming around even after being quarantined. That is the time when some apps were introduced so that we could trace their movement. A lot of people were arrested and even booked under Disaster Management Act for roaming around, not taking it seriously. Then police was also told to I mean, we had new problems. Wherever we would open a quarantine center, local people will oppose. That was the beginning of this pandemic. People would say, oh, don't open a quarantine center in our locality, it will spread in our locality, kind of a thing. People had to be convinced. A lot of awareness had to be spread about COVID. People were assaulting asha workers. Asha workers are the paramedics who go to the colonies and convince people to be tested or to be take precautions and all. I mean, they are the barefoot doctors who go, and people were assaulting the asha workers, poor ladies who were going to assist them, helping them, they were assaulting. So police was told to protect them. Police was told to protect the quarantine centers. Police was told to protect the hospitals, because people were creating problems there also. People were assaulting doctors. So all, then the issue came of lockdown. Lockdown, of course, was known to us because we are quite used to imposing curfew like situations. But then this was a much difficult lockdown. This was not a lockdown which we introduced when there are, suppose, communal flare. Um, um, uh, there everything is brought to zero and nothing is allowed. This was a lockdown with a change, because you had to allow movements of thousands of essential due services. You had to allow goods vehicle to go. You had to allow people to go to hospitals. You had to allow people to go for testing. You had to allow so many things. So very tough lockdown, very difficult lockdown to implement, but our people did it. Then the situation came where border controls were established. People were being stopped. People had to be stopped from entering from Maharashtra, from Kerala, and at the same time impose. So all kind of things police was asked to do, and we did it as an aid to medical authorities. That was a big challenge for us. And I must tell, there was a huge collateral damage to the police. In the first wave, which lasted from March till September, October, a police force, we have a police force of about 90,000 people. 10,000 tested positive. That was the collateral damage because of the nature of the job. People were agitating, people were arguing, people were assaulting policemen also, and the kind of even checking at the borders. Our people were coming in close contact despite all the precautions. They were coming in close contact with the infected people who knew or who did not know that they were infected. Some of you may say, why police was not taking precautions? Why were not wearing PPE suit? It's very easy to say. PPE suit and gloves and all these masks, etc., are required things. They are easier to do when you are in a normal environment, but when you are standing at Karnataka Maharashtra border at 45-degree, 48-degree, 47-degree, and checking some thousands of vehicles, it's not easy to do that in practical. So, and even if you do that, the chances are that you would get infected. So what was the collateral damage which our force got? 10,000 people, roughly I would say 12% of the police force tested positive, and 104 people lost their lives, all of them by coming in contact with infected people while discharging duties. They lost their lives. That was the first wave. Of course, the learning from first wave we had, and we quickly swept into action when in February the vaccination was introduced. You may remember that the first phase of vaccination was only for health authorities, and the success of that vaccination phase was about 30-35%. The second phase was for police personnel, the frontline workers. We ensured that 100% of our policemen got vaccinated. A lot of them were not convinced, a lot of them were dilly-dallying, a lot of them were finding excuses. But today I can say, as I talk to you, out of 90,000 people which we have in our force, 87,000 have been vaccinated, have taken first dose. 77,000 have taken second dose, and they are waiting for their first. 87,000 have taken both the doses, and 77,000 have taken one dose because they are not yet eligible for second dose, so they would also be taking. But you may say then second wave has been very good for police force. No, second wave has not been good for police force despite taking vaccination. Now I am not, please don't misunderstand me, I am not trying to propagate and trying to tell you that, oh, even if you take vaccinations you will there is no use, you will fall, you will not get COVID. I must tell you, even in the second phase, even after taking two doses, 4,000 people have again tested positive even after two vaccinations, but they are very mild, very, very mild, asymptomatic. So, one thing I must tell you now, on one hand, I'm saying there is huge collateral damage. Even in second phase, second wave, we have lost 45 deaths so far, but those are the people who could not take vaccination. Either they did not listen to us, or for various medical complications they could not take, and they have passed because of comorbidities, they have passed. But not to say that don't take vaccination. Vaccination is a must. In fact, vaccination is the only solution to this COVID-19. And even if you take vaccination, and even if you do test positive again, it will be very mild, very symptomatic, probably not requiring even a vitamin C tablet. So do take that. So coming back to police, we have had huge collateral damage. Today when I talk to you, 147 policemen have lost their lives, and they have lost their lives because people are not listening or doing what they should be doing. Our people are getting subjected to lot of unwarranted contact with the infected people while discharging their duties. So that is one part. Second part, I'll come to the technology. I told you, even the destructive situations like this pandemic sometimes result in very constructive solutions, and a lot of good things have happened in this 1 year. I'll give you one example. The earlier, whenever the rule in this law in this country is that when police arrests anyone, he has to be produced before a magistrate within 24 hours, and then the magistrate decides whether he will give him a bail or he will remand him to the judicial custody, that is, send him to jail. We can't keep anyone in our police lockup for more than 24 hours. So every year, almost I would say in a place like Karnataka, 1.5 to 2 lakh people or 3 lakh people are physically produced before the judges. And this is something which was causing huge number of policemen to test positive, because initially we realized between April to June, July, that 1 out of 3 people whom we were arresting in various offenses, murder, rape and all, was testing positive. And then, because unknowingly we have taken him to the magistrate, the policemen were testing positive. So then we thought, and we sat with the judges and we said, let us do away with this physical production of accused, and let us do the video production of accused. Now, this was something which we were trying for 10 years. It was not happening because judiciary was not ready. But this was the time when judiciary said, oh yes, we don't want to receive any prisoner physically. And today, while I'm talking to you, no prisoner is produced in the courts physically. 99% of them are produced through virtual modes, through video modes, and the decisions of the judge are also passed in virtual mode. So that is a very big development which we have using leveraging technology, which has happened in last 1 year during pandemic. I'll give you and I'll give you one more example, how these things were happening. There was a case in Shimoga. I'll give you two examples. If I have, if can I talk?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll give you two examples, interesting examples. There was a 15-year-old girl who was raped brutally in a small village in Shimoga. And our policeman went to the spot. He made her sit in a jeep, took her to hospital. There were two lady constables sitting behind with her, and put her in the hospital, admitted her. Hospital finished all the formalities, and hospital would test the girl for COVID, and she tested positive. And then we realized that all the policemen who had dealt with her, touched her, taken her, also tested positive. That kind of situation was there. I'll give you another example. Mulbagal, which is very close to Bangalore. Our Chikbala police intercepted, I'm talking of last year, intercepted somebody who was taking a quintal of meat to Bangalore city. A lot of meat comes from Andhra Pradesh in these in Bangalore city, and he was intercepted during the lockdown. He was arrested and put behind the bar. But when the he was tested, he tested positive. Now imagine if that meat was consumed by people in Bangalore, probably thousands would have tested positive. But our police people became positive because they had intercepted and dealt with him. So with the virtual production, all that has become easier, and our people are not becoming victim to that. Second example I'll give you, something like doing police verifications. Now, all these years, we do about 4 to 5 lakh verifications only in Bangalore city every year. People would come, fill the forms in commissioner's office, then they would deposit some fees, go to the bank, deposit fees, give challan, and then give the form, and then it will go to police station, and then they will come to collect that certificate of police verification. We use this opportunity to do away with all that. Today, no police verification applications are received manually. No police verification certificates are given manually signed. Everything is online. People apply online. We transmit it online. And when everything is ready, the certificate is e-signed, and digitally it comes to you through email, that certificate. So these are two examples, but there are many more examples where we have leveraged technology, and we have moved forward in police force thanks to pandemic. So sometimes there are good outcomes of bad things also.
Yeah. So, sir, uh, after hearing uh, these examples and the number of cases uh, within police department, one question pops up. Like Gandhali also has put that question on the screen. With with so many with so much exposure to this virus by uh, as you gave in the examples, the the police personnel would probably be feeling more unsafe, and they would have uh, like they would have a hesitation to perform their duties. So how did you handle this, and how did you hold their moral high?
Yeah, so that's a very good question from Gandhali. I must tell you that as DG and IGP of Karnataka State, my task today, the biggest, if you ask me what is your biggest concern, what takes your maximum time, what is your biggest duty responsibility today, I would say my number one task today is to keep the morale of the police force high, because we cannot afford to let people down. We cannot afford the government let the government down. The work has to go on. I would say same thing about the health authorities. Nurses, doctors have been working continuously for a year now, more than a year. They just can't raise their hand and say now enough, we can't handle it more. Similarly, policemen, we can't do that. But to ensure that the policemen morale is high, to ensure that policemen do continue to work despite their colleagues dying due to this pandemic, we have to keep their morale high. How? First thing what we did was we did provide them every possible safety kit. We gave them sanitizers, we gave them gloves, we created a lot of new SOPs which were not existing. We stopped people. I'm talking of last year. We prevented people from visiting the police stations. A parallel police station in a tent was created outside every police station, so that we don't infect 20-30 people doing the work in a police station. Only 3 people would attend to all the public in that tent. So even if somebody is falling sick, those 3 people would fall sick and they will not infect everyone. So they were isolated. They were working for a week and then going home, like that. So many constables, policemen would not go home for 15 days, 20 days. They would go to a hotel and stay, not so that they don't infect their families, till they were very sure that they were tested and they were sure that they were not positive. So we did create a lot of SOPs. We did give them a lot of safety kits. But I tell you, whatever we give them, the nature of job is such, it involves lot of interaction with people, physical interaction with people. They will keep getting sick. You have seen between first wave and second wave, election came, and suddenly people started thronging in temples. People started agitations, everyday protest and all. So the nature of job is such that our people will have physical contact, and they would keep falling ill. So what we did to raise the morale was, one, that in case there is a collateral damage and policeman dies, we government announced that they would be given ex gratia of 30 lakhs. They would be given a job to the next of kith and kin, and whole lot of benefits we announced. uh, that is one thing. But the third thing what we did was the vaccination. Now the morale is much higher in second phase, even though casualties are happening. But we have taken step to see that they are all vaccinated, or priority. But the bigger thing is not that policeman is worried about themselves. They are more worried about their family members. So if as a head of the force was only taking care of my policemen, it would not have raised their morale. They are more worried about their children. They are more worried about wife. They are more worried about their brothers and sisters. They are more worried about old parents. And policemen do stay in very small houses. So in the second phase, not only policemen, but we have seen very aggressive vaccination to their family members also. And what benefits we have extended to policemen, we have extended to their family members also. And as chief of Karnataka police, my major duty is to see that their family members are as safe and secure as we are taking care of the policemen. So these are the few things which are ensuring that their morale is high. And I would tell you, though, notwithstanding the collateral damage and the casualty which we had, the morale of the police force is very high. We will continue, because we know that if we don't work, if we give up, then there is no one can fill that vacuum. It's impossible. And if we give up, the health authorities will not be able to deliver what they are delivering, because many times our people, and large number of people, are unreasonable. They won't listen. Even when I'm talking to you, there are people who are attacking doctors. There are people who have entered the hospitals and assaulted doctors and non nurses, because some close, near and dear ones have died. They holding them responsible. So all kind of things are happening. So police has to keep working. The show must go on, and for that I am ensuring that morale of the force is high.
So good to hear this, sir. Certainly, as you said, supporting their immediate families is a key importance, and that is what the police person would be uh, uh, assured of while he is performing his duties. So one more question related to this answer has been asked by one of our viewers. So I'll just briefly ask that, and then we'll go back to our normal question. Uh, so I think you mentioned about this online certification. So is that something which is applicable to all kinds of services or specific to the pandemic related services?
No, so yeah, we don't deal with passports. First thing, a lot of people think that police deals with passports. Passports are dealt with the External Affair Ministry, but I would say passports also the largely the process has been technology driven for many years. In fact, the passport department has done technology infusion much more many years back. So what I am talking about is not about passports, not about visas. But we are talking of there is a bouquet of about 21 types of services which we give online now. These services are various licenses which people apply for, various verification. There are some 8 9 types of police verifications. There are various permissions which can be applied if you go to the website of Karnataka State Police and see citizen centric services. So some of those services has been made online and duly delivered in online fashion. Not all, but we are adding some services every month, because again I tell you that in Karnataka, thankfully, not only technology is widely accepted even in rural areas, the internet penetration is very deep in Karnataka. So our effort to leverage technology has been very successful, and people have accepted whatever we have said with open arm. So we are going to add more and more services in times to come.
Thank you, sir. So going back to the standard questions which I had prepared a bit, and I think you kind of addressed a little bit in details when you explained uh, what what kind of new things police has to do once this pandemic started. So along with that, I think we also feel that the number of staff or the police uh, total number of police personnel, is that something which is enough? I mean, when you say that there is so many new things which you had to do for the first time when this pandemic started, there is a lot of learning, and there is a question of whether we have enough people to support this. And I think sometime back there was a survey done for the part of police reforms where uh, I think the measure is based on the number of police per 1 lakh of population. And the latest or the more recent survey or analysis says that ideally we should have 222 police personnel for 1 lakh of population, while we have I guess 137 right now. So there certainly is a gap. We need more people, and especially in such pandemic situation, I believe you feel the need of more people to support all these new or unplanned things which the team has to take up. So, what is your view on this? I mean, we know that we are understaffed, but whether uh, that is getting expedited as part of uh, uh, this pandemic experience.
Yes, Sarang. So for a moment, let's forget about pandemic. Even when pandemic was not there, Indian police is highly understaffed. I won't talk of any figures, but roughly we are 50% of what we should be, and that is across all the states, not only Karnataka. Karnataka may be much better, Bihar and UP will be even worse. So we are in normal circumstances also, we are about 50% of what we ideally should be, what the national standard or international standards advocate. I'll tell you what, you'll be surprised if you ask me what are the two major demands of police force for decades, which we have not been able to fulfill, which most of the states in India have not been able to fulfill. And you will laugh at when I tell you what are the two major demands of policemen. Like, unlike all other, policemen can never go in strike. You would know that armed forces and police are bound by law not to go and ever strike, and it has never happened. But the two demands: one, that they say give us a weekly off. Now you will be shocked that for 20 years they have been, or I would say 70 years, they have been saying, listen, it's impossible to work all 7 days. We need a weekly off. And we have been able to fulfill this demand only about 2 3 years back, and especially when I took over and I insisted and that the weekly off has to be given, whether we like it or not. Earlier, all these years, we used to give them some small sum, some 200 300 rupees for having worked on a holiday. uh, so that was the first demand. The second demand, which they have been making for decades and which we have still not been able to fulfill, is that give us a 8 hours duty on an average. Even now, policemen works on an average about 12 to 14 hours a day, every day. So while we have been able to fulfill this demand of weekly offs, we have not been able to fulfill the demand of 8 hours, because simply if you want to make it 8 hours, you have to double your force at least. So we have not been able to do that. The third demand is, they have, I mean, it's you will find that why they are not demanding that. The third demand probably, which they have never made, would be, let us be at home in Holi, Diwali, all our festivals. But no policeman will ever ask for that, because police force is one which is more on duty on all the festivals when all of the us are celebrating at home. In North India, when Holi everyone is celebrating, entire police force is on the streets. When Diwali everyone is celebrating, everyone is on the streets to enforce. On Republic Day, on Independence Day, whatever we call as a public holidays, or this Jayanti, this festival, that festival. Um, Even in rural areas, jatras and functions and all. So police is, I mean, that is something the policeman can never even dream about, that he will stay at home when all the festivals are celebrated. So what you said is right. We are highly understaffed, but then that is not something which we can undo in a day, pandemic or no pandemic. I am not even talking about pandemic. I am talking in normal circumstances. Increasing police forces is not so easy. It's not like a corporate. We don't work like we have made so much of profit so we can recruit more. Governments every government thinks twice before sanctioning any post, because these are all recurring expenditure and the cost of governance increases. Forget about increasing the strength. We have to struggle even to fill our vacancies. Till very recently, Karnataka police, which is about 1 lakh sanctioned strength, today we are only 85,000 to 90,000. That means there are 10,000 vacancies. So even to fill those vacancies, the permissions are hard to come by because it involves a lot of money. And another thing I tell you, after government permits us to recruit and increase the post or recruit and this thing, it takes almost 2 years before that benefit accrues to the department, because it's not that we recruit people today and tomorrow they are on the field. No. Number one, the recruitment process itself takes about 6 months, 6 to 8 months. After that, they have to go for a training which takes 2 years. Yeah, and it's not like other departments. Today you recruit and tomorrow you start working. They go to their training schools, they have to work, whether they are constables or sub inspectors or IPS officers. We all spend 2 years of training before we can actually be put to the field. So it's a very long process. So that's where the difference between police department and any other department lies. So that's a big challenge. But I would say that since we know recruiting people is not so easy, the other solution is that introduce more and more technology, so that the task which 10 people do, technology 1 or 2 people can do. And not only number of requirements of people comes down. For example, if any of you have visited commissioner's office where they used to receive applications for police verifications, every day there will be some 200 300 people sitting and filling applications, and there will be 20 counters. All that is thing of past. There are no counters, there are no people, thanks to pandemic. And now everything is coming online, so a lot of people and the whole pendency is getting cleared very fast. Because so One way of doing away with the incessant demand of manpower is by introducing technology, and that is what the long term, in long term, we can only solve problems of this huge country is by leveraging technology.
Very, very informative answer, sir. And I think I I I got a clarification on why recruiting is not easy. I mean, as you said, corporate world just uh, you have profits, you hire, show some salary package, but this is something more complicated than that. Thank you, sir. Uh, I'll go to my last question, and then we'll take questions which are coming up. Uh, okay, I think one question is related to this current question itself. So let us see if we can go to that. Uh, One thing, as you mentioned, there are vacancies which are also very hard to fill in. So, is there one of the reasons? Is it that people don't want to join the police force? That's one of the reasons. And if yes, then how do you think that can change?
No, 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 no. Please don't even think that police don't want to join police force. Uh, I'll give you an example. On 25th, we are announcing recruitment of policemen. Now we are recruiting about 3,000 vacancies. We plan to fill 3,000 vacancies on 25th of May. We are announcing. We will receive about 3 lakh applications.
Oh,
3,000 posts and 3 lakh applications. This, I guess, is 1 is to 100. And recently we announced 515 posts of sub inspectors to be filled. We received 1,25,000 applications for that. So it's not that people don't want to join police force. No, it's not true. It's not true. We are not able to fill because it's not like corporates that today you join, today you recruit somebody and tomorrow you can remove somebody. You can't. Once somebody joins, he has to be in the service for 30-35 years. So it's a huge recurring cost. Every time you recruit, the cost to the government exchequer is permanent over next 35 years. It is nothing to do with your efficiency, profits, delivery of services, etc. So one is that there is a huge number of people who want. It's very, very cutthroat competition, and that's why it takes 6 months to recruit, because when 3 lakh people apply, we have to do this. Lot of recruitment is also not only the objective type question paper but also the physical parameters. They have to run, they have to jump, they have to high jump, long jump, run within some point of time, height, chest, medical tests. So you have to do all that for 3 lakh people, or 1.5 lakh people for sub inspectors, for DSP. So that's how it takes time. But if you was to ask, if so now the I'll be very truthful. If you were to ask me, is police a preferred profession? No, it is not a preferred profession, especially at the lower level. At the constable level, it is not a preferred profession. People, why it is not preferred profession? Because profession, because of the very difficult working conditions for the lower constabulary. uh, if you travel every day, I mean, before pandemic, you were traveling to office every day, you were going to office, you were coming to office, coming from office. If you have seen the plight of traffic constables in Bangalore city, there cannot be a worse job than that. I must give you some statistics. The kind of pollution they inhale over 30-35 years, at least 70 to 75% of them are asthmatic. 20 to 25, or sorry, 30 to 35% of them suffer from heart diseases. And if you ever wondered why this traffic cop speaks so loudly, which many of you would have complained, oh, he was very rude to me, he was shouting at me, then I'll tell you a secret which you can't even imagine. 80% of the traffic cops are hard of hearing. They are hard of hearing because of the noise they fear. They suffer 30-35 years because all of us keep honking. I mean, honking is the favorite pastime of Indians, not Bangalore but any part of India. and they are subjected to this 9 to 10 hours a day. 85% of the traffic cops are hard of hearing. They can't hear, and that's why they speak so loudly. So next time if you complain he was rude, he shouted at me, think maybe he doesn't even realize what shouting means because he can't hear properly. So the plight of constabulary is very, very bad. The service conditions, as I told you, they got weekly off after so many years. They are working 11 to 12 hours. There is no concept of overtime in government service. Please try to understand. Whether you work 8 hours or 12 hours, and when there are riots and communal riots, you remain on the spot for 7 days, 8 days. Um, you don't get paid anything extra. So it's a tough life. And imagine, many years back, when I was trying to motivate more and more women to do traffic duties, they said, "Sir, do you even understand? Standing on a point in on a roadside, where do we even go for nature's call? Where do we go for all these places? These are very difficult. For women, it's all the more difficult." So it's a tough life. So whereas I am saying that for 3,000 people 3 lakh applications will come, but that is largely because of poverty in our country, because they are not getting any jobs, because they have achieved degrees. One more thing I'll tell you, you'll be shocked if you see my tweet. Those who follow me on Twitter, DG Karnataka Twitter, I just attended a passing out parade 3 days back, and for 240 constables, that's the lowest rank in police. 111 of them were graduates, 60 were postgraduates, about 50 of them were engineering graduates, and they are joining a profession where we require only 12th class pass. For constable, our requirement is only PUC or 12th class pass. But even engineers are joining. Why they are joining? Because that engineering degree has no meaning. In our country, we have reduced these degrees to absolutely trash level. Those degrees, post graduation degrees, PhDs, etc., cannot fetch them any job. They are so poor quality degrees. So it's not a preferred profession. And one reason why we have huge vacancy is that whatever we recruit, at least 30-35% of them leave within 4 to 5 years. Even if they get a teacher's job, they would say, at least in teacher's job, 9 months I teach, 3 months I get holidays, I can look after my children, I don't have to be in the night. So it's a very, very tough job, and that's why it's not preferred profession at the lowest level. At the higher level, it is definitely very preferred profession at DSP, sub inspector level. But that's I hope I have answered. So there are a lot of people wanting to become policemen.
Yes, sir. So thank you, sir. I'll go with my last question, and then probably a few of the viewers' questions will take. Uh, and this last question is related to what you said. I mean, there are so many challenges a constable goes through, or a traffic police goes through, and we as normal regular citizens would appreciate if we understand, or we also see them in a different way. Like you said, I mean, I I may have jumped a red signal unknowingly, but then when the cop talks to me, I feel that no, he's talking rude to me, or he's not behaving properly. Uh, at the same time, there are citizens who really appreciate the hard work, and we do appreciate the hard work each and every police person puts in, be it long hours or long days. But we would like to know more about how we citizens can support the police department in terms of say like welfare, or in terms of any volunteer activities, and how would that support help the police department function with our contributions.
Well, If one way I would answer that question in a very non-traditional way, if you want to do something good for the police force, just empathize with them. We don't need sympathy. We don't need papa and all that, poor chap and all. We want you to empathize the kind of job he is doing. I'll give you few examples. The all of us are conversant with traffic cops. I mean, there would be bad eggs, there would be bad people. You can show me one person who is bad, I can show you 10 people for that one people who are very good. The problem is we only see the negative aspects of police force. Policemen are from society. Policemen are as bad or as good as the society is. All of us are also not angels in our society, in the environment in which we work in. So empathize with them, try to understand in the difficult circumstances they work in. For example, we unendingly argue with traffic cops on the signals, on the various places, and we feel that he is unreasonable. We expect a MBA like behavior from a police constable, a 12th class pass constable whom we pay peanuts, whom we pay. I mean, you will be surprised that the salary of a postman or a peon and a constable is almost same. So we pay them peanuts and we expect them to give a MBA like an English speaking, very suave constables. That's not going to happen. A lot of people, when I was traffic commissioner and also commissioner of police of Bangalore, a lot of people will ask me, why can't your people speak English? And I would say, why can't you people speak Kannada? After all, you have come from outside, and because many of you are from Maharashtra, I would tell you that before you expect a cop to speak English, he is speaking his mother tongue. He is under no obligation to speak English, but you are under obligation to speak Kannada. Now it's a different matter. We also encourage our policemen to learn a bit of Hindi, a bit of English, so that he is able to communicate, because it's a cosmopolitan city. Not everyone can speak Kannada, but as a right to demand that constable should know English. Oh, he didn't know English. He was speaking to me in Kannada. So I take great offense on that. One thing. Second thing, I'll give you another example also. Like this, during pandemic, a lot of people would send me and ring me up. Your policeman was very rude to me. Come on, we are asking you to remain inside your house. These policemen are standing, leaving their houses for now 6 months last year and now 2 months this year. They are not going home. They are requesting you. And if you want to argue them endlessly, I want to do this, I want to do this. I mean, there are thousands of ways, arguments you can give. Everyone on the road can give an argument. Pick up a thala and say, I am going to buy vegetables. It is permitted. I am going to my ATM to draw money. I am going for vaccination and all. But have a heart. Policemen, having worked there for 10 years, 20 years, largely we can make out who is lying, who is not lying. I mean, the number of people who claim that they are going to attend when they jump signal, and number of people who claim, oh, I was under stress, my relation had died. All kind of lies and all. Policemen can make out that you are telling lies. I am not saying there are not bad policemen. There may be many bad policemen, but there are 100 times good policemen also. So what you can do is not in terms of money. We never expect people to give any money. Government will take care of that. A lot of NGOs supported us during this pandemic in various ways. In various ways, they supported police. Police supported a lot of migrant laborers. So it's a relay race. You support us, we support somebody else. So a lot of NGOs helped us with a lot of material. A lot of NGOs helped us with testing kits. A lot of NGOs helped us even today when our policemen, while I talk to you, 100 policemen are in hospital and another 100 are in COVID care centers. A lot of NGOs came with the oxygen concentrators they donated, which we made available to our policemen. But this is not what we primarily need. In long run, I expect every citizen to empathize with police, to understand why he's standing on the road, why he's stopping them. There has to be some reason. He is doing his duty. And you can't have this PhD level philosophical discussions on the road. When somebody stops you, you can't say no, but why you should be stopping, this rule is not right, this rule is right. Maybe half the rules are not right, but the question is, he is doing what he has been asked to do by the people who have made those rules. So whether rule is right or not is not his business. So one, in one word, if I say, don't argue with them, empathize, and once in a while tell them good job done, well done, shabash. How many people ever compliment a policeman on the roads who are standing day in and day out for 30 to 40 years? So that is the greatest service we can do to policemen.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. We will certainly remember this, and next time when we meet any police at the traffic, or we will certainly appreciate the hard work being put in. Uh, with this, I am kind of done with my questions, but I think we are also almost 1 hour plus now. So
I can
maybe,
take any question, so I don't have a problem. If you
okay,
want to continue, I am fine with that.
sure. So let's go with the questions for at least 10 more minutes and then see where we are. So I think, yeah. So the first question is from Gauri Acharya, and the question is about, would the police force be able to function more efficiently if allowed to be an independently functioning entity without any interference from other agencies?
Well, so I don't know really what Gauri has in her mind. I presume it's a lady, in her mind, by other agencies. If you mean that, like BBMP and Water Board and all, no, we have to work together because all our duties are interlinked. Today, doctors cannot deliver if policeman is not there. Today, the BBMP cannot deliver if policeman is not there. Policemen cannot deliver traffic duties if BBMPs don't support them. So we don't have to be independent of other agencies. We have to work with them. In fact, all of us have to work together. But if you meant agencies, maybe you meant politicians and the political elements. See, that's a very utopian kind of a situation. If you live in democracy and if you want to be in democracy, it is not possible that police will not be interfered or guided or directed by the politicians or the politicians in power, because it is ultimately they who have got the mandate. You gave them mandate, and therefore they would try to run the police in their own way. Uh, the solution may not be independence from politicians or political leadership, because in democracy that's not going to happen. Solution may be probably to improve the quality of that political leadership by choosing, by electing better people, by electing people on the basis of agendas that concern public, common public. So if the quality of political leadership improves, the quality of policing will also improve. But to imagine that in a democratic structure, police can be totally independent of political leadership is a utopian thing. It's not going to happen in next 100 years also. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Moving on to the next question. Yeah, this is coming from, I think, Naren. Uh, what is your secret of work-life balance despite your long working hours, sir?
Well, yes, that's a very, very difficult question. That's a huge sacrifice. It's not only the constabulary whose families suffer, the senior officers' families also suffer quite a lot. But that's the understanding we develop over years and over decades. The family understands that we are in public service. There is nothing called a night or a weekly off, or a Sunday or a Saturday. When there is a need, we have to go on work. There is no question. No one measures their number of hours. So one is the understanding, and the family support helps us in balancing work life with the personal life. Well, I would say people at our level, IPS level, we hardly have any personal life, because even if I am going for a social evening, the discussion over drinks would be only about traffic. It is inevitable. So I have experienced that. Any party, any dinner we would go, within 5 minutes, my wife will be in one direction and I will be in the other corner of the room, where people will be asking why it can't be done, why it can't be done, and discussion would be either about policing or about traffic in Bangalore, or a whole lot of things. But that's the special thing about this service, IPS especially, that you have to sacrifice your personal priorities, you have to sacrifice a lot of things in life, because you are in public service 24 by 7. And of course we have to keep sanity. I keep sanity by delegating a lot of work. For example, I told you, during this pandemic I have been focusing on just keeping the morale of the force high. If the morale of the force is kept high, I'm sure, and giving them a direction and guidance, I'm sure they would deliver, and they would have delivered, and they have delivered. So, tough task, but yes, maintaining work life balance is a big challenge, and many of us are able to do, many of us fail to do that and suffer. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Next question. As the topic of discussion is on the stress, especially on the infrastructure of police, especially in the pandemic, which functions were affected? Uh, Example, crime, smuggling, stationery, etc. And how can public help them?
That's a difficult question. I really don't know how to answer that. During pandemic, uh, our resources were of no use. Usually we say that in infrastructure in police, when I say the infrastructure in police, we want more vehicles, we want better vehicles, we want better police stations, so that, when you visit a police station and you find a very dingy kind of a room, you don't get a good feeling. So if you who visited it for half an hour did not get positivity, then imagine the plight of policeman who works there for 35 years in that cramped environment. So infrastructure of police is a big challenge. We keep telling government, and governments are supporting us in creating better police stations, giving good houses to the policemen. That's a bigger challenge. Now, that is a biggest challenge for me today. Now we are in the second wave. We know that after double vaccination they are still getting infected, but then none of them need to go to hospital, and we are saying do home isolation. But home isolation works very well for you and me. It doesn't work well for constable, because 80% of the constables who live in police quarters have one room or two room, maximum two-room houses. Most of them have one bedroom houses. Some of them have two bedroom houses. Now, in that house, they would have children, they would have parents. How to do isolation if he tests positive, or if any family member tests positive? So, we have created our own police CCCs, COVID care centers. We are motivating them to shift to the CCCs, because there is no way they can do home isolation. If they are positive, or any one member is positive, then all of them will test positive. So these are the challenges of police infrastructure. But I don't think these challenges are only particular to pandemic. These are challenges, as ever they were challenges, and they will remain our biggest challenge in years to come. We are trying to address these challenging challenges. Three things which police force require is, um, their houses, good houses for policemen. That solves half the problem of policemen. For example, I'll tell you, in Bangalore city, only 35% of the policemen have government accommodation. 65% of them would stay in rented accommodation. Now, we can safely presume maybe 15-20% of them have their own houses. Still, 50% of them would require rented accommodation. Now, can he pay the kind of rents which are in prevailing in Bangalore city out of his salary? So as a result, many of them would be staying in urban slums, in very unhygienic conditions. Not only unhygienic medically, but maybe co-dwelling where the all the criminals stay. So these are the challenges of police force, and we are addressing it by constructing new houses for them, spacious houses for them, police stations for them, increasing mobility, and improving the communication and technology infrastructure.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Next question is about the feedback. I think Mr. Gokhale is asking this question. What is the feedback system to communicate positive work done by the police personnel? And I think
Oh
this,
yes, yeah.
just to follow up on that. I mean, you did mention that we can appreciate the work when we meet any police personnel, but this is more probably more of a formal feedback which can go to his superiors or the police inspector or the sub inspector of that area, which will really give him give a positive feedback to his superiors, which will increase his morale. So, is there some system like this?
Oh yes, that's very important part, and I must say that even as DG, I receive lots of letters where people write their positive experiences with policemen. People email, and not at DGP level. Everything need not come at DGP level. Police inspectors, police DCPs, SPs receive lot of good things about policemen, and we do communicate to them. We reward them also. We have reward system, punishment system also, and reward system also. So feedback is very important, but I'll tell you, times have changed. Today if you really want to appreciate, either you just go to him, say thank you to him, and you would have made his day. One thing, or biggest social media is the best way of acknowledging good work done by policemen. If you see social media, it is full of so much of hatred against police people. A small wrong thing done by policemen does get amplified thousands, million times. I can see it happened the first day when the lockdown was imposed. The second day only, there was so much of hue and cry about police atrocities and all. Lot of videos surfaced on the social media. 90% of the videos were doctored and fake. I am telling you with in full responsibility. In fact, we also contradicted some video of Bihar, some video of Delhi, some video of Maharashtra were doctored and given voiceover in Kannada to make it look like natural, and floated that kind of animosity, that kind of hatred. Various people, the adversaries, because if you want to embarrass the government, you should criticize police. So those who have political interest in embarrassing the governments will also target police. So all that kind of negativity, and we know a lot of things. Many of these are trolls. Many of these are bots. They are not even human beings. So, but and lot of these excesses are correct also. We do take action. If you have read newspaper, we suspended one of the inspectors who had assaulted a doctor. When we find a specific case and there is a complainant, we take action. We don't encourage that. But lot of it is by trolls and bots and fake kind of a thing. So when so much of negativity on social media comes, now every policeman today is on social media, in Twitter, in Facebook and all. When he reads all this negativity, he thinks, goes home and thinks, why the hell I am working if these people are not grateful? So if at the same time, if police people are doing some great job, please express it on Twitter. Be aggressive about it. Negate all the negativity which exists in Twitter. So Twitter or other social media. I would request everyone to follow I have a Twitter account, DG Karnataka, DG at the rate of DG Karnataka. Commissioner has, and we have large following. You will see what is, not only you can express your good feelings and bad feelings if they are genuine, but also you will see what lot of things we are doing for the public in day to day.
So, thank you, sir. This is really, really informative, and many of the issues which police face are something which we as normal citizens are not aware of. So this really helped the way you explained and gave the details. We would like to wind up with one final question, and then we can probably go to the next part of the program and close it. So this is the final question, and any other questions which are coming on the comments, maybe I would excuse and not take them now. Probably we can pass it on to you if later on, to see if we can put it on our social media later. But let's go with this final question and then conclude for today. So, sir, this is question is from Rupali, and as I just mentioned, she also says she got to know many problems faced by the police staff as part of this conversation. So, is there any forum through which common people can interact with the police staff? I mean,
Yeah. So Rupali, thank you. Thank for understanding the problems faced by policemen. So, if you want to interact, there are various. Suppose you are in a distress. In a distress situation, I would advise everyone do try 112. I think this is the best mechanism we have brought in Karnataka recently, and give us our feedback even directly to me if you are not happy with 112, but do try 112. It's a path breaking, it's a game changer which I have tried to introduce during my tenure of 1 year. That is when you are in distress, but you don't want to interact always in distress only. So in good times, as I said, physically do, just say a few good words to them, to their bosses. Use social media to appreciate them when they do good work. And other interactions, do visit the offices of DCPs in city or commissioner and police stations. It will be an eye opener experience. Life is not only about reading books and getting degrees and doing our works and meeting our targets. Life is also knowing about how the other parts of our society work. So a visit to police station visit can be eye opener. People visit police station when they are in distress, when there is something wrong has happened. But I advise people to visit police stations when nothing wrong has happened. Your experience will be totally different. Your experience will be totally different when you go and visit a police station and say, I have just come to pay gratitude to all of you. You work very hard. Because if there is a fire in my house and I'm waiting for fire brigade, even a delay of 10 seconds will look like 10 hours. I have never heard in my lifetime that anyone said, oh, fire brigade came in time. They will all, no one has ever said. Because whose house is burning, he can never say that fire brigade came in time, because even if it has come in 20 minutes, it will look like 20 hours. But when you don't have a crisis and you visit police station and get good experience, it will change your, we live with a lot of prejudices. We live with lot of prejudices in life. And I will tell you without fear of contradiction that most of the prejudices are not based on facts. They are not based on personal experience. Some of them are, but most of them are not. Most of the prejudices are based on hearsay, what others say, what media says, what social media says. So you can all support us by making a change, by bringing a lot of positivity in environment, by appreciating and paying gratitude by things which where police have done good work.
thank you, sir. On behalf of everyone, again, I thank you, and I'll call upon uh, Mr. Kale Kaka, as we fondly call him, who is the president of Mithra Manda, to say a few words.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarang, for conducting this interview. It has been a lively interview. And first of all, let me thank Mr. Sood, sir, for taking his valuable time out of his busy schedule and sharing with us his perspective regarding this unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic and its challenges. Thank you, sir. And as Mr. Sood, sir, has expressed, he has been for reforms in police department and he has done his hard work to keep up the high morale of our police force and to support it as responsible citizens. We assure you that we will also follow the rules and we'll give all the feedback, whether it is negative or positive, and we empathize the police force. We know their hard, and now it's an eye opener for us. So we assure you as a organization, we will follow all the advices what you have given, and we'll ensure that a positive environment is created whenever there is a conflict with police or generally what we see in public life. I thank you very much, sir. I thank
Thank
Gandhali for nice introduction and the initiative taken by her in coordinating and making this interview possible. I thank Naren Nande and Shweta Panwalkar, our technical experts, who made streaming of this interview possible. In fact, they have been doing this for all our virtual programs because of this pandemic, which we are compelled to have regularly. I thank
Kaka,
Sujay Dev, Shweta, Varun Sapre, and our Mithra Mandal committee members for promoting this program on Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, mail, and other social media platforms so that people are aware of the role of police and how best we can help them out in this crisis. So, thank you all once again. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarang. Thank you, Mr. Shashikant and Gandhali. I must confess, it has been great interacting with all of you this evening, and I have enjoyed every moment of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We also have enjoyed and learned a lot.
Yes.
And as Kaka mentioned, we will certainly follow the rules and also show our appreciation at every opportunity we get. Uh, thanks all the viewers for the interesting questions. And again, apologies for not taking all the questions. Uh, Thank you, Kaka, uh,
Thank
for
you.
this opportunity to interact with Mr. Sood sir. So thanks again. Uh,
Thank you.
this yeah. So with this, we'll end our program
End
for
this.
today, Kaka. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.